Well, this month of April, springing into transformation. Woo! You know what transformation, the synonyms of transformation are? Change, yes. Alteration, conversion, revolution, renovation, and makeover. Our topic this morning is called the grace of allowing. And I will have to say that this topic, I was able to bring out my trusty way of mastery to glean some wisdom from it, because it has a whole section on the way of transformation. So I figured, let's see what's in here, and we'll be sharing some of that in a little bit. But transformation then obviously requires change. Now, for us control freaks out there, we like change, as long as it's on our territory, my way, then I'm happy with it. But if it doesn't happen the way I want it, it might not be right. It might freak us out. I found a quote from William Arthur Ward that said, "The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. And the realist adjusts the sails." When we are talking about transformation and we are talking about the grace of allowing, we're talking about the realist adjusting the sails. Taking life as it is at the moment and being able to flow with it, to go with it, to allow it to be. And it's interesting because the way that we can do that, us control freaks out there, the way that we can be comfortable with that is to know that this life that is living us, what is it? You see, it takes knowing what we are to be comfortable, to be secure, to be sure that it's okay, that it's showing up, whatever it's showing up, it's a good thing. And we get the challenge, the opportunity to find it sometimes, because sometimes it might be hidden just a little bit in our knowing, in our seeing. So we recognize, just as the song that we just heard said, I in the place where God shows up. What that says is that we are one. There is no separation. That all this beautiful, wonderful, great stuff that God is, all that beautiful love and all that beautiful joy and all that beautiful peace, oh my gosh, you mean that's me? That's you? And if we can just get beyond that judgment of something else, life is so much freer. I wanted to share with you, how many of you have a daily spiritual practice? Good. I didn't see every hand go up. So, you need to bring yourself into the habit of having a daily spiritual practice. And I would say do it first thing in the morning. Well, maybe not first thing. You can visit the girls' room first. Or boys' room. But then sit yourself down, and I read the Science of Mind, I read the Daily Word. Actually, right now, how many of you are taking participation in the 21-day meditation? Well, it's happening. You can do it. Go online, and I think it's in the day 13 or 14 at this point in time, but you can back up. Actually, it started when I was on vacation, so I got a little tardy start on it, but they're available for 5 days, back. So go ahead and avail yourself of that. But I wanted to share with you the reading from Science of Mind that happened yesterday, because I think that it fits in our topic today. And it says, trusting the movements of the soul. This is a quote from Howard Thurman. Don't ask what the world needs. You already know this one. You've heard this one more than once. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. What the world needs is more people that have come alive. And from the Science of Mind textbook, page 550, as deep cries unto deep, so my thought cries unto thee, and thou dost answer. And it says, have you realized yet that you're never going to figure it all out? Well, us control freaks. We don't have all the information, at least not handy. While it's true that there is one mind and that our minds are windows or facets of it, the mind of God uses our human brain as its instrument, and it really comes down to bandwidth. There are simply too many data points for us to hold on to. And that's okay. It's perfect. There are other ways of knowing besides our intellect. We are intuitive. We believe in the direct revelation of truth. There are times these nonlinear ways of knowing can be expressed beautifully and succinctly in words, and there are times they cannot. I've learned to trust the movements of my soul. I can't quite tell you what it is. It's like something vast and steady that is deep beneath the surface of my human life. I may sense it as a feeling of deep joy, or grief, or attraction, or repulsion, or something unnameable, yet I feel it. I've learned that if I lean in, I can sense it. Sometimes it will give me direction when I'm stuck. Sometimes it will ask me to stop when I'm moving too fast. There is more to you than you can understand or explain. You are vast. You are infinite. There is a wisdom in your deepest depths, and you can trust it. And his affirmation is, I reveal the truth of God in all that I do. I am guided in my steps today as a wisdom that is beyond words. I trust the divine knowing that is revealed in the depths of my soul. One of the items that Deepak Chopra shared in one of the meditations in this last week that struck me was a quote from Eckhart Tolle. And he said, there are 3 words that will give you the secret of life and the secret of success of life. 3 words. 1, with life. 1 with life. Though we need to be clear on what that life is that we are one with. The reading that I just read told us it's vast, it's infinite. And we want to make sure that we get clarity on our knowing, on our accepting of what this life is. It's not minimal. It's not just scraping along. It's not a bunch of lack and limitation, is it? It's abundance. It's freedom. It's joy. It's opulence. It's all this grand stuff. That's the secret of life. Be one with that. Totally. The topic for this 21-day theme that they usually have a theme for their meditations, and this time they have chosen the word hope as their theme. Now, I'll have to say that my initial take on that was a little bit of perhaps disappointment in thinking hope. Many times I think the word hope is kind of a wimpy word. Well, I hope it won't rain today, or I hope, hope. It doesn't seem, well, honestly, if you start listening to what they're saying, what they really could have said was faith. They really could have said trust. And yet I think they use the word hope probably because they're talking to the big general public, and that it's probably more acceptable to the general public than, us who are, on our spiritual maturity path. So that they can accept the word hope. But really what they're saying, it's faith. It's knowing what is. One of the quotes that Deepak said this last week that struck me is, "Life is the dance, and you are the dancer." Makes sense? Yes. Yeah. The music is being played. It's up to us to move to it, to have our choice. He also said, life takes care of itself more and more as awareness expands. True? Yeah. It really does, because so many of us, when we come into this teaching, many times we're looking for something. We're looking for help. We're looking for a change. We're looking for a way to be. And lots of people come in with the auspices of being that victimhood. Life is happening to me. Darn it, why is this happening to me again? I thought I already figured that out. Now it's happening again, right? And so when we come into this arena, we think, no, it's not happening to me. I'm responsible. I need to step up to the plate and say, okay, I have made choices in the past, consciously or unconsciously most of the time, and it's gotten me to where I'm at. And that's okay, because it's been a perfect path. And so we come into this arena and we learn the fact that we can cooperate with life and we can speak our word. Our word has power, right? I'm one with God. And so I'm going to speak my word. This is what I want. Yay! And so we call ourselves manifestors. We're going to manifest it. We're going to have it happen. And we love that. Our control freaks just love that. But then there's a progression of the spiritual maturity path that goes to level 3, which is allowing, letting, knowing that there is a source and an energy and a power that is in and around me that has the bigger picture, that has the global, huge picture, and that it would behoove me to allow it to be. Last week at Easter, we talked about Jesus going into the garden and asking, if this cup can pass my lips, please let it be. Otherwise, not my will, but thine be done. And when we get to that point of recognizing that thy will, God's will, is all good. There's nothing to be scared of, nothing to be scared of. Okay, that's good English. There's nothing to be frightened about when we allow ourselves to let God be through us. So we're here to allow this power that we are to come forth, to demonstrate, and we get to choose. We get to say how we would like it to be. So don't hold back. Say it the way you want it. Expect it. Hope with a knowing, with a conviction that it will come forth, or this or something better, right? That's right. I was reading a quote from Robert M. Persig. You know who he is? In 1974, he wrote the book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Sound familiar? Vaguely familiar, huh? He said, to live only for some future goal is shallow. It's the sides of the mountain that sustain life, not the top. So it's good to have our goals. It's good to speak our word of what we want to have happen, but recognize that as we are moving and as we are climbing and as we're going forth to that goal, that climbing the mountain is where it's at. That is what's sustaining us. That's where life is being lived. So no matter how it looks, the grace of allowing is happening. It's here for us as we choose. Last week I shared with some of you the fact that I had come back from my trip to Panama, and it was amazing. I keep running into people that weren't here last Sunday and saying, I want to hear all about it. So you got to come to church or you're not going to hear about it. So there were 6 of us who went on this trip with a guide from the Wildlife Research Institute of Ramona. And it was an adventure of a lifetime. We spent 4 days on the Isle of Paradita. It's a private island that's 60 acres in size. And it was fabulous. Oh my gosh. Our food was magnificent. And Alejandro was our chef and just made the most wonderful, delicious food and drinks. Passion fruit, yummy. And so then we had 4 days on that island. Then we went to the rainforest, 7,200 elevation up, where we were hiked to the waterfalls. And we had Abel was our guide there. And he could call all the birds, all the whistles in just the right way and bring them to us. And then 3 days on Panama City where we drove through the locks. I have pictures of the lock. I mean, I'm right there on eye level through the lock. I saw blue-footed brown boobies. Those are birds. Hummingbirds, parrots, quetzals. You know what a quetzal is? The quetzal is one of the most sought-after birds in Panama. It's a beautiful, it's probably about that big, the bird itself. Then the tail on the male is about that big. And there are 3 feathers that come down from it. It's beautiful. And so that was in the rainforest. We stayed in a particular lodge that is known for having these birds come, and so we could see them right there on our balcony. The harpy eagle. Now I will have to say we had to go to the zoo to see the harpy eagle because we didn't see him flying around. But he is the bird of Panama. We saw crocodiles, literally in the pond where the golf course is on in the Radisson where we stayed in Panama City. There was little crocodiles right there. Sloths. You know a sloth? 3-toed sloths, say that fast. The monkeys, the howler monkeys, I told you about those last week. The howler monkeys, they howl. I mean, they don't howl, they roar. Literally, you can hear them a mile away. The iguanas, the kinkajous. The kinkajous and the coca missiles. Those were the little animals that would come up at night. We'd put bananas out on the rail. And they're like nocturnal, and they have these big eyes. They're kind of like a raccoon in a way. And they would come and eat the bananas. And anyway, so it was an adventure of a lifetime. It truly was. And it's similar. It was interesting because I was thinking about it. It kind of reminds me, 15 years ago it's been, that I had this idea that came to me that said, gee, I cannot not try this ministry thing. I just have to try it anyway, just to see what might happen. Well, that was 15 years ago, and I've been pretty happy with it. And this going on this trip was somewhat of the same type of a thing where I was talking to my friend, and she was going, yeah, I've been on several of these trips with Dave, at Wildlife Research, and he takes you right where the animals are. He knows all about it. She goes, but I have to have a roommate for this one. I got to find somebody to go with me as a roommate. I said, I'll go. I didn't think twice, really, much about it at all. Well, and I'll have to say, though, because the brochure that she sent me on the email is a beautiful lodge, the first place. But then later, after I sent in my deposit and all that business, I found that the very first place on the island itself is totally off the grid. So when I brought my hair curler, and They said, no place to plug it in, honey. But that's what life is about, is taking advantage of those inklings, of that intuition, that little whisper that says, why not? What have I got to lose? You know, I mean, it seems like it's a great deal, and it was. It was a experience of a lifetime. It truly was. And I will have to say, though, that, and I debated with myself if I was going to share this or not with anybody. But you know me, I just bring it out because I think it's important to be real, to be honest, to share what's going on. And so on the island, we snorkeled. Okay. Now, the day before we got there, well, the day we got there, it rained. And so the next day, the snorkeling wasn't all that great because it was kind of, the water was all churned up and such. And so we went out the second day. The next day, we went out snorkeling. And they said, you know, we've got the fins and all that stuff, so we know you can use our gear. And my feet are so little, they didn't have the fins to fit me. But I went out there, I had my little snorkeling gear on, and I'm floating along looking at what I can see. And I don't know how it happened. Something happened. I don't know what. But all of a sudden, I just got this whole mouthful of salt water. You know, really. And I, came up gagging, spewing, sputting. And I have to say, I was a bit panicky. I couldn't breathe. And one of the gals all of us were right there. One of the gals who was floating by me, she had a fin on, and I reached out and grabbed her fin. I'm like, help me. And she stopped, and then it dawned on me, listening to the little voice is saying, hey, all you have to do is float on your back. All you have to do, just float, which I love to float. And so I did. And she came over, and then another friend, they were helping me, guiding me in. But every once in a while, because I pulled that mask thing off, I pulled that snorkel off, and every once in a while, though, the water would float over my mouth again. And, of course, then I'd freak out again, and I'd sit up, and okay, just lay back down. Lay back down. It's okay. We got you. So I went back in, and I got into the shore, and so we didn't have to use my travel guard policy that I bought. I said to my son, I bought this travel guard policy. I'm in insurance. And so if in case you have to get my body back somehow or another, it's taken care of. But they didn't have to do that. So, but what it dawned on me, what the value of the lesson was there, was that when life is giving you these challenges, remember that you can float. You can flow with it. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to resist it. If you allow that energy that is there to support you and work with it, then it will. And that it's okay to ask for help. And when the help is extended, take it. Be wise enough not to resist it, not to fight it. So it's a big lesson, once again, that life keeps giving us in all of these little experiences of life, if we are attuned to it and, I think, are humble enough to be teachable, to learn, to allow ourselves to change. That's what it's about. Transformation, we're going to change. The other thing that this book was talking about, the Way of Mastery is talking about a lot, is the idea that in order to transform, one of the practices that you really need to demonstrate and do every day is that of forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go. Forgiveness is just saying, that was then. They were doing their best. I was doing my best at the time in the consciousness and the awareness that I had, that they had, and let it be. Let it go and move on. It says judgment is the opposite of the kingdom. Judgment. It's our minds, our categories, what the ego says. Oh, this is right, this is wrong. That judgment is the opposite of the kingdom. Catherine the Great said, the more a man knows, the more he forgives. You know why? Because he wants to be free. He wants to know that in this moment, I am willing to be open, to allow life to give me what it's giving me right now. Because when we're hooked up on some kind of resentment, on some sort of idea that that was wrong in the past, we're not here. We're not fully present whatsoever. I wanted to share with you on page 257, it says, cultivating the grace of allowing. Gee, I wonder where I got the topic title today. Okay, cultivating the grace of allowing. Imagine that for the next 30 days, all that mattered was the cultivation of grace of allowing. How do you do that? By coming down, once again, to the most concrete, most mundane, most ordinary experiences of any given day. When you turn on your water in your shower in the morning, actually take the time to be present and to feel the coolness change to heat, and to recognize that you have just observed the constant dance of change in your world, and simply say, I allow this change to occur. Yes, now it makes you sound like you are doing some great thing, when in fact, it's going to happen anyway. But have fun with it. If you burn the toast, take a deep breath. And before the egoic mind goes in to complain and whine that the toast is not the way you want it to be, stop and look at it. Actually experience the burnt toast and say, I allow this toast to be burnt. And now I am free to choose to eat it as it is or start again. So you see, the power of transformation is the transformation of consciousness, which is the only thing that can be transformed. Learning is a consciousness thing. It is the only thing that can be changed. It is the only place learning can occur. And all learning is designed to translate perception so that it becomes more and more and more and more like reality, with a big R, itself. Fear dissolves from the mind, and then the Father can take the final step for you. Spirituality is merely a process of seeing things differently. All suffering is the resistance of reality, and awakening and healing is the letting go of resistance, forgiveness, allowance. God is already here. I am forever God's. I surrender. Surrender is the fruit of allowance. Surrender is the fruit of forgiveness. Surrender is the same as at-one-ment. We are here to live this life of God in our own way, at every moment. And when we trust, when we allow, when we let this life flow through us, it is grand. In every moment. How many of you saw the sunrise this morning? Purdy? Thank you, God. It was gorgeous. To me, that is a sign that God says, I'm here. What a gift to be in this presence. I'm going to ask you if you would take out your program, and let's go ahead and read the last of the thought for the week together. So this is your challenge, homework, opportunity this week. Let's read the bolded words together. I wonder what it would be like to just let things be as they are. to notice them and let them pass by. Today, I accept the grace of just allowing life to be just as it is. I open my eyes and heart to a new perspective and eagerly embrace the growth of my Christ consciousness. I am willing to live in peace and freedom, imbued in love, and so it is. So there. Namaste.